Hello, my name is Matthew, and we're reading The Magic Mountain together. And I've only read another 10 pages or so, but there's just an episode that I really want to talk about. Uh, but first, um, I want to read a quote that I think really captures the introduction or beginning of this novel and also captures our hero Hans Castorp's first full day at the sanitarium. So I'll read this very quickly. I think it's great. And he's having a conversation. Hans is having a conversation with this Italian humanist who um, he met on his first day, and they had a rough start. They don't really get along, but they're having these long conversations together. And after a long conversation, Hans replies, and it's him describing just his very brief experience of his time at the sanitarium. Diverting and dull, both, just as you please, Hans Castorp replied. It is at times hard to differentiate, you see. I certainly haven't been bored. There's all too much hustle and bustle up here among you for that. There are so many new and remarkable things to see and hear. And yet, on the other hand, it's as if I had been here not for just a day, but considerably longer, almost as if I had grown older and wiser, it seems to me, which I just think brilliantly captures that swaying, dreamy, weird conception of time that um, has been permeating through the stories so far. It's dizzying. But now Hans has had his first full day at the sanitarium. It hasn't really gone very well. He's having trouble adjusting and fitting in. But now it's nighttime and it's the end of the day. And his cousin, Joachim, is saying that they're going to have their rest cure. They're going to go out on the balcony, they're going to swaddle themselves and enjoy the cool, thin, crisp mountain air. This is part of the sanitarium's routine. And Hans, this is the part that I loved. Hans is just completely fired up. He's upset. If he was a little child, we would describe him as being fussy. He doesn't want to sit on the balcony and swaddle himself and have a rest cure. And he says to his cousin, I am just a visitor. I'm not here to be swaddled and have these rest cures. And he goes, I'll tell you what, I'll go out on the balcony and I'll have one of my cigars. And he loves talking about these cigars and how great they are. So far, every cigar that he's tried to have on his first day has been a miserable experience. They've been just these distasteful, uh, horrid um, cigars that he can't even stomach or suck down. He keeps throwing them out or suffering through them. And he even makes a point to say that he knows that smoking this cigar is going to be an awful experience, but the satisfaction of knowing that even if he doesn't enjoy it, it's still a quality cigar. So he decides that he's going to go out and smoke this cigar, and then he realizes that he has a chill. And early on, one of his first observations or impressions of the sanitarium and his quarters is that they don't keep the heat on. They keep the temperature extremely low. And now Hans is like shivering in his bedroom, and he realizes that he's just like freezing to death. And he goes over to the radiator and he puts his hand on the iron, and it's just stone cold. And he's like throwing blankets on himself and having an absolute fit. It's this great comedic, nearly pantomime um, episode of this person just shuffling around and being disgruntled in his little room. And finally, he's so dissatisfied, just so through with the day, that he decides he's going to bed. He's had it. He's not having his cigar. He's not sitting out on the balcony. He's just going to pile on blankets and go to sleep. He's not even tired. And when he finally does manage to doze off, he is not taken to this dream world of comfort and tranquility. Instead, he's tormented by nightmares. And he's tossing and turning all night. He can barely get any sleep. He's waking up and going back to bed. And he ends up just ending this day miserably. As awful as a day could be for this guy. And it's so great. It's so amusing. It's such a great set piece, but it's still rather sad and serious. I love that ironic tone that um, Thomas Mann can just bend in and out of the story. It keeps it lively, and uh, I'll talk a little bit about what happened afterwards. Just in these few pages, so much stuff happens. He wakes up the next day, and um, they start the whole routine again. He meets up with his cousin, and they have their breakfast, and they see other uh, patients. They go for their walk, and it's a beautiful summer day at the top of this mountain. It's August. Blue skies, beautiful. And as the day proceeds, these ruddy, muddy, brown clouds start to consume the sky. And his cousin says, well, snow is coming. And Hans is just in disbelief. It's a warm, sunny day in August. And sure enough, the clouds come through, the wind whips up, and it snows. And now everything is just covered in white, crystalline snow. And Hans has a conversation with his cousin about how perplexing this is. It's August. And his cousin, who we're told has only been there for 6 months, does seem to be almost suspiciously well informed with uh, the entire weather system uh, throughout the year. He seems to just have a very good understanding, and says it can snow in the middle of winter, it can snow in the fall, it can snow in the spring. As you can see, it can snow in the summer. And conversely, on the darkest winter day, right in the depths of winter, it can be so sunny and bright that you'll have to take your jacket off while you're on a walk. And he describes how all of the types of weather systems that you can have throughout the year all touch on this sanitarium. But they don't really have a thing that's a season. There's no such full season that passes by. Instead, you get everything all at once, shuffled up like a deck of cards. And he brings up putting on the heat in the sanitarium, and he's saying, well, it's not putting on the heat isn't dependent on the season, it's dependent on the temperature. And he's like arguing with himself, and he's so upset that he has to be cold. And it's such a great, uh, it's such a great like connecting feeling, that irrational overreaction that you can have when you're just cold, and it's not entirely impossible to have it corrected. It's an unnecessary restriction. So after this, he sees this Italian humanist. It's the person that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, um, that ended with that quote. So he sees this Italian humanist, and he decides to bring up um, the the nobility of people that are sick. And he says that the healthy are often described as crude and stupid, whereas the sick should be treated deferentially and nobly. And he's going on. And the Italian disagrees with him entirely on the premise and on the explanation, and says the sick are not noble and need to be deferred. Sickness is an injurious, terrible thing that is inflicted upon humanity. It's not that the healthy are stupid and that the sick are ill. They should be treated with dignity, but they should be treated the same as the people that are healthy, because we are all arcing towards the same fate. And I can't do it justice. It's this brilliant um, argument, counter argument that this Italian humanist poses to Hans. And of course, Hans takes the most cowardly route to avoid an argument with this Italian, and just says, well, I was joking. I was being sarcastic. I was making light. And the Italian won't let him off the hook and goes, right. So what you're saying is that I can't believe the words that you're saying, and you're okay with saying things that you don't mean. And it's a great reminder that Hans is a young man, and it shows through his actions, his kind of overreacting juvenile behavior in the cold room, his not really fitting in. Um, he's fairly well educated, but inexperienced, and now he's talking to a man that um, is sick and is in this sanitarium and is not putting up with this uh, uh, with our hero Hans. It's just great. All of this just in 10 pages. So I don't know. I just thought I would talk about this great scene. Um, that's it for now. I just thought I would tell you a little bit more about what I'm reading. So the Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann. If you're up to this point, or if you're reading along at all, please let me know what you're thinking about the book, or parts that you like, or um, episodes or conversations that were intriguing or particularly ponderous or thought-provoking, anything like that. Please let me know. I have a lot of comments that I need to get back to get to, but I will. So thank you for now, and leave a comment if you would like, and thank you for watching. Take care.